Hey all, Tom Moran here from Tom's Big Spiders. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at Psalmopoeus langenbucheri, one of the smaller species of Psalmopoeus. And anybody that watches my videos or listens to my podcast know I love Psalmopoeus species. I've been trying to collect them all. This is one I got a few years ago from Tom Patterson, and she's a young adult now. We got her out and about. It looks like she's probably adult size, and she's an adorable little thing. But anyway, we've had her kept in a container that I haven't really seen her all that much. She's been a very, very reclusive spider. In fact, I caught just her legs out the other day. Wasn't sure if she was hungry, dropped a roach in. And as you see in this video, we actually find the roach in there alive. Now, if she was ready to eat, that roach would be gone. They're excellent hunters. But the fact that A, as you'll see in the video, her booty is quite large, and B, the roach was still alive, she's probably going into pre-molt now. So hopefully she can have some time to set up her new enclosure, molt, and we can get some more shots of her. We'll see if she's a little more out and about now that she's in this new enclosure, because obviously this is being shut after the fact. Surprise, it's all done already, and now we're going to take a look at it. So enough of me talking. Let's take a look at P. langenbucheri, or the Venezuelan Chevron tarantula. All right, so here we go. We're about to rehouse the Psalmopoeus langenbucheri, or the Venezuelan Chevron, I think is the common name. I picked these up, I think it was early spring of 2022 from Tom Patterson at Hardcore Arachnids. At the time, he had sent me like the most amazing box with a bunch of freebies in it. We recorded it. It was one that was after work. And I've referenced this video before. It went on for like, I don't know, 40 minutes. The sound got screwed up. I was tired. I misnamed one of the spiders. It was just a disaster. And I tried editing it, especially the sound was the big part, and I never ended up putting it up. So unfortunately, when I went back to find the original footage of this, there was none. But we rehoused it last about a year and a half ago into this enclosure here. So the Psalmopoeus species, heads up. A lot of folks read that they're arboreal, which is true, but they will do some burrowing. They're very closely related to Ephiopus or Ephiopus species that will burrow. These guys as slings, you want to make sure you give them room up top, so give them the arboreal setup, and then give them the room in the bottom to do some burrowing, because as you'll see with this young lady here, who might be maybe an adult at this point, we'll see how big she is when we get her out and about, she's still digging. She still has a burrow that runs underneath here, which unfortunately means I'm going to have to do some digging, because before Billy came up here, I found where she was. She was sitting right on the back of this cork bark. So I'm like, oh, good. I can lift the cork bark out, show her off, and then put her in the new enclosure. That's not going to happen. It looks like we're going to do some digging around in here. So we'll see how that goes. But this enclosure, what I like to put them into as slings is something around a 20-ounce, well, super small slings. You put them in the dram vials, or I put them in dram vials. If the larger slings, I can put into a 20-ounce or 30-ounce deli cup. I like the 20-ounce ones because they're a little bit taller. They offer some height. Up top, you can put some soil on the bottom so they can dig, and they're not too tall that they get lost in them. And then we moved her into this here, which is one of the large food storage containers. You can get them just about anywhere. Target, Walmart, Amazon has them. You can usually get a pretty good deal on Amazon. And I like the size for juveniles. Yes, they're a little cloudy, which is why I only put juveniles in it, not adults. Plus the fact they're a little smaller. But they measure 7.5 inches by 7.5 inches by 9 inches high, or 19 by 19 by 23. So I love these for a juvenile fossorial species, because if I wanted to, I could fill this right up here with substrate. They have plenty of room to dig, or for arboreal species. And then once they get to that young adult size, we put them in something prettier. So what we're putting them into is this one over here, which is one of the tarantula cribs. I think it's the Rehouse Switch Large. And I got sent these by Tarantula Cribs a while back. I actually got sent one, and it was cracked here. You'll probably see it in a future video because it's still intact. It's got a big crack through it, so it still works. But they sent this replacement one here that is absolutely beautiful. I like it because it opens from the front. I personally, when I'm working with arboreals, I like to work top down. So normally when I do feeding and maintenance, I go top down. However, when rehousing, sometimes it's easier to point the arboreals in here, poke them, they go in, they go there, they can't escape. So I love having both front and top access. They have a little privacy panel on the back. This is the orange one. Now, they come in black, white, opaque white, a bunch of other colors. I kind of like the orange because it's Tom's Big Spiders. And quite frankly, for people that are going to ask, yes, light could easily go through here, not a lot of privacy, but this is going to go up on the shelf where it's going to be against the wall anyway, so it doesn't matter. This is more just so I can look up and see that orange in there. And then as far as the actual setup, what we have in here, we have the substrate, which is my own mix. It's about 45 peat and cocoa fiber with vermiculite thrown in. We have cork bark tube that I'm hoping she'll go down in there, eventually web around here. This will be her home base. That's usually what mine do. She may end up in here. We'll see how it goes.
What's the other 10%?
Huh? Oh, I said vermiculite.
You said 45 and 45.
45, and I said the rest is vermiculite, I thought.
Oh.
I'm going to go back and edit this, and if I edit, and if I said it, I'm going to come right downstairs and play it for you because now I don't know what I'm talking about.
I thought it was 45, 45, and I was like, and I was
Pretty sure I said
10%.
45, 45 in vermiculite, but we will find it. So people who are watching this video now already know the answer to this one. But Billy is supposed to be on my case because I forget stuff all the time, and then she's the one that reminds me.
I will apologize now if
No, don't apologize. No, we'll apologize later when I come down and be like, booyah. So anyway, we have a fake plant in here. It's I get these cheap ones off Amazon. I do soak them overnight. Anytime you get a plastic plant, make sure you soak it to get any chemicals out, but I've had no problems with them. People will ask why I don't use real plants. I have tried to use real plants in the smaller enclosures before, and I haven't had much luck because Psalmopoeus, especially, they dig up and they start webbing. So every Psalmopoeus I gave an enclosure to that had a planted plant in it, no matter how I tried to care for the plant, they eventually killed it. So we're doing fake in this case. Plus they poo all over everything. And there's nothing worse than going and having a plant festooned with, white poo all over it. Then we have the long grain New Zealand sphagnum moss. We have the colored, the Galapagos moss over here just for looks kind of around the base of that tree. Some leaf litter. I will keep it moist. They do prefer, they're really hardy species overall, but they do prefer moisture, especially keep those lower levels moist, and then she'll have a water dish. And if you're looking at this, I know these can be for folks who want to spend the money. These are fantastic, but for folks who like glass or maybe want something cheaper, yes, one of the Exoterra Nano Mini Talls, I think it is. Nano Talls? Exoterra Nano Talls. I always screw them up. About the same dimensions. They open from the front. They open from the top. They work just as great. I would probably replace the top screening with drilled plexiglass, or one of they make, Tarantula Cribs makes a replacement lid. Another company makes a replacement lid, but those would be a little bit cheaper. But again, it's just I'm showing what's out there. You guys can decide if it's worth the money. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to get this girl out. And I don't know if this one's going to be a fun one. I probably shouldn't have picked this one. So unfortunately, the last time I checked on her, she was way down the bottom. So what I'm going to do is pluck this out. You see her by any chance? No.
No.
So it means she's way underneath. Great. Just kidding.
You are just, oh my.
The problem is you jump in the video with the cameras and everybody blames me for it. And sometimes you startle me. Like it's not the spider running that startles me, it's you screaming and jumping away. I'm like, what's going on? Oh boy. All right, so we're gonna let's get this one out. Now a note about Psalmopoeus temperament while we're doing this. There's a roach that I put in for her a couple days ago.
There's a cup over here.
Drop her in here for now. Psalmopoeus have a bad rep because here's the deal. They are generally speaking very shy spiders. They are very, very fast. They're one of the spider species that people will call teleporters. And it's because, especially as slings, they can move. However, I found that they're also very shy spiders. So if you give them enclosures that allow them to do some burrowing, create some areas that they can run and hide to when disturbed, that's what they'll do. However, if they're caught out and about and they feel like they don't have any other choice, they will stand their ground. They do not have urticating hairs, unlike most New World species, and therefore they are more inclined to use their fangs and venom as a deterrent. There is some speculation out there that their venom is actually more potent as a result, but I don't know if that's ever been proven. It's one of those things we just figure that's the case. Oh boy. You know, girl, you would have made this so much easier if you had just stayed on that cork bark. Haven't had to dig one out in a while.
Every time you say, oh boy, I'm thinking.
No. Oh boy. I wonder how many people have actually seen that movie. Oh boy. I keep saying it. And believe me, I want to finish that line. And so what I'm going to probably do is try to carefully. It's okay. On the bottom.
Oh yeah, I see her.
I already figured out where she was. I wouldn't have done that. I don't know if you want to shoot in there for a second and get. I don't know how much good footage we're going to get. This is not a species I want jacked up and right. Oh, she's plump. That's going to be our thumbnail. If you go up just a little, just center that bed. Well, there you go. You're doing my work for me. Beautiful gold coloration. You can see that booty is plump. That's why that roach wasn't eaten. And that's a screw up on my part because, quite frankly, I dropped it in. I haven't seen her in a while, and I thought I saw her out and about. She looked hungry, so I dropped the roach in, but that roach was alive and in the enclosure and hiding. So that's always something you got to be careful of when you're working with spiders and feeding spiders, that you don't leave the live prey in there. So it's a boo-boo on my part.
Coloration is really, really interesting. She looks like she's got gold.
I haven't seen it's been. So this is the spider I got, and I don't know if I think I covered it in the podcast. She almost died. I came out. She was a sling. She was in her sling enclosure. Came out. She was up top, literally not moving, looking terrible. And then I went, took her out, didn't put her in ICU, but put her in a larger enclosure. She sprung back to life and was doing fine. So, all right, which one are we using for this? You're going to have to back up because I got to do my thing.
Yeah, I just want to get some good shots.
This is to get her to go. I want to go up, but no, not that up. Come on. I have time for this today. I got things to do. I'm probably yelling right in the microphone. I apologize for people who are listening to this. I'm not really upset. There we go.
Oh, man, she just boogied. Holy Moses.
Use that speed. So what we're going to do here, I think we're going to put her in from the front. So let's get this out of the way.
Or you could just... That's good.
Now, one thing I've learned about tarantulas is they usually want to go up, and when they get in here, they don't want to move from here. So what we're going to do is direct her. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to get great shots of her. And a note, I believe this is the smallest Psalmopoeus species. They get to be, I'm pretty sure, 3 to 4 inches or so, or 7.62 to 10.16 centimeters. What people can't see off cameras, I'm actually reading the notes. I do not have that memorized. So what we're going to do is point her right in here and try to get her to go up back there.
Okay.
There you go. You're home. There you go. No, don't turn back around. Nope. Yeah, nice try, butthead. All right, get that out of here. It's Billy some good shots. So that might be it. Whoa, oh, that's, hey. And that's why I didn't want the top. Remember what I was saying about them going up to the top corner? I should probably, I've said before, I prefer, if I have to have one or the other as far as arboreals are concerned. I like to have a top and go. I like to work top down because a lot of times if they get excited in their own enclosures, they race around the outside. But I found with rehousings, as soon as they go in, they go up, which is why sometimes that can be like if I'm trying to put the spider down in, I'm just realizing now I'm motioning, gesticulating with my hands. You're not catching any of it. I can do all kinds of terrible stuff over here. Nobody can see it. Anybody want to play a game? What is Tom doing with his hands right now that he realizes he's not on camera? It's been a weird day. She is pretty. So again, this, I'm looking, do I have the tape measure here? Let's just for giggles. She's not stretched out.
This guy, she's kind of crunched up a little bit.
Like that's 3 inches not stretched out. So she's probably close to 3.5, 4 inches, which should be adult size. So again, if it's true, and I will say that with some of the Psalmopoeus species, I heard Cambridgei get to be like 5 or 6 inches. When I raised my Cambridgei up, she's a beefy like 7.25 now, I think. She's a big girl, maybe even 7.5. The Victory, the Darth Maul tarantula, that one I heard was a smaller species. Mine is now quite large, so who knows, but beautiful little spider. And this will be a good enclosure for it. Would this work? I'm going to have people ask, would this work for the larger species of Psalmopoeus? Here's the deal. I have my Victorii and one that's about this size. She is now about 6 inches. It is looking a bit cramped. I'm probably going to go ahead and rehouse her into something larger. Again, I love that spider. I want to show her off more, and there's just not room for her to do her thing in there. And then the Armenia I have, I could have gone bigger. She's not, I wouldn't say her enclosure is cramped, but you could go bigger on it. But with something this size, I think this will work great. Now, as far as, again, we talked about moisture. I do like to keep them on the moist side. We do have a nice, bigger water dish here. A lot of times I'll put in the little deli cup water dishes. I want something bigger here because I want it to keep that, the inside microclimate from drying out too quick, especially in the wintertime when the heat's on. As far as the temperatures, in here in the wintertime, it's usually low 70s to mid 70s or so. In the summertime, we're talking about 80 to 85 degrees. If it gets much higher than that, I don't like it to hit 90 in here. So I'll usually kick on an air conditioner, just knock the heat down a little bit. But 80 to 85 on and off during the course of the summer. They grow great. She's doing really well. And hopefully what we'll be able to do is an update eventually where I'm able to go, hey, look, I was right. And she's webbed up either behind, I can see her either going behind here or webbing up all around this area here and using that as her kind of springboard when she goes out and hunts. So there we go. Psalmopoeus langenbucheri, the Venezuelan Chevron. Beautiful little spider. Really excited to have her in what should be her final home. Unfortunately, what's going to end up happening, and this is the problem with these beautiful enclosures, is she is going to crap all over this thing. It's like I set these up and I had people go, oh, it's such a beautiful enclosure. I'm like, yeah, give me a year. And it's like they're so bad. And the problem is with the, you can see them up there. It's just, it's so, look at, all right. So this one I cleaned off. This is my piece of Fusca Lowland. That is just abhorrent. It's just crap dripping all down it. And they always go to wherever the sun is, I've noticed. So if the sun's coming from the skylight over there, they're going to poop here. The Victoria, a little bit better, but I got to somehow clean that off with all the webbing. And the problem is with glass. So say I had a glass enclosure, very, very easy. You take a razor blade, you run it right down, you put a piece of paper towel underneath it, and it just comes right off. You can't run a razor blade off this. You're going to scratch it up. You have to be incredibly careful when cleaning it because it can scratch. And that's one of the downsides of the fancy acrylic is if I go in there and get too aggressive with this, it's going to just scratch up everything. So I can either go in there and spray some warm water on it, and that's usually what I do, and then try to loosen up and get a paper towel in there while making sure the spider can't get out. You don't want the spider coming out. The easier thing sometimes is just to go like this one here. She's getting a new enclosure. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to soak it in the garage and try to get all that poo off. So that's the reality of it, folks. When you set them up in these nice enclosures, it looks amazing for quite some time. And then they just get those little booty poo cannons going. They shoot that stuff everywhere, and it's just a nightmare. I'm just keeping it real today, you know? So there we go. Psalmopoeus langenbucheri, Venezuelan poop cannon, rehoused in our new house, and we're ready to go. It's true. It's look at the poop. So again, sorry to go on the whole thing about the poo, but it's the truth. When you set these guys up, we set them up in these beautiful enclosures. We put in plants. We put in cork bark hides. We put in leaf litter. We set something up that's like a little slice of what it might be like to find them in the wild. And then after about 4 or 5 months, they poo all over everything. So this is, again, I talked in the video about why I've kind of steered away from using the live plants. They can be amazing. And I'm not faulting anybody that uses live plants. That's awesome. I want to get back to using some live plants and some, but I think they do better if you give them a much larger enclosure. But even then, I had a tarantula that was in one of the 12 by 12, I think they're 18 enclosures, and I had a pothos in there that was doing very, very well. She made it her mission to cover that pothos with poo. So trying to get in there and clean that off can be a little bit difficult, I will say, especially when it comes to having the acrylic enclosures. That the one knock about, well, one of the knocks against acrylic, and I am putting together a video that compares different enclosure types. One knock against the acrylic is it is so fragile and easy to scratch. So when you put a spider in it and it's forever home and it can sit in there, the good news is you're probably not going to scratch it up with substrate. The bad news is the spider, if it's an arboreal species at least, is going to poo all over everything. Now, when it really becomes difficult is when you have to clean them out. That can be incredibly tricky because now you have all this dirt and sand in there. When you go to dump that out, it just scrapes up all of that plastic and mars it. So usually what I tell people to do is get a good shop vac and suck up as much of that stuff as you can so that you don't have to pour it out of the enclosure, and then carefully spray water in, loosen up any dirt or anything that's in there, let it go down to the bottom, and then carefully suck all that out. It helps to prevent some of the scratching. So a tip there. But with glass, the nice thing is you just go in there with a razor blade and some warm water, you spray it down, you scrape it off. I believe some people use something else. So chime in. So I know somebody came up and said they use something that's apparently harmless to the spider. I always use hot water, spray it down with hot water, let it sit for a bit, wipe it off. You're usually good to go. You just got to be careful you don't have any little grains of sand in there. So I will obviously keep people updated. I think what's probably going to happen is she's going to settle either right behind that piece of cork bark or in it. I'm hoping in it, web up that area, and that's where she'll hunt from. But in a couple months when she settles in and maybe even molts, we'll get some more shots of her and I'll be able to show you guys what she did. So I'll do it for this one. If you're new to the channel and you liked it and want to subscribe, I appreciate it. Click the circle right in there. If you just want to check out some of my other stuff, I'll put a couple of videos in here. You take the time to comment. I'll take the time to respond. Just know it can take me a little while because I tend to get busy. Guys, as always, stay safe. We'll catch you all next time.